on the next topic, the new Champions League format. There's no group stages, which me as a fan, I'll be annoyed next season. Like you love waking up on that Saturday or Sunday morning, group stage draw, the group stage draw.
Yeah, of course, of
Or the
course, of course.
buzz of football, who's getting potted where, who's this, and then the knockout stages. Whereas now it's just a league. Like
See
what
for
the
this for the scouting me.
36 teams, the top nine go straight to the positions 9 to 24 will go into the playoffs, and then the top eight. So the top eight, 1 to 8, will go into the knockout stages, and then 9 to 24 go into the playoff. It's like basketball.
No, I don't like that. That's honking. That's just never going to work, is it?
So the top 9 and 24 between the positions will go into the playoff. Whereas the top eight, so you just need to be in the top eight to go into the next round. Whereas the group stages, you have that, you need to get into the top two in the group.
Yeah, it's not for me. That I don't like that format whatsoever.
Because the article was, this was one of the top people in the Guardian. He says the Champions League format, like from recent years, wasn't perfect, but what's coming next is making it worse. I think that's
100%,
the Guardian.
100%.
I think it is a money making business. This is what I think. I know people are saying about that Super League falling up, but I think this Champions League format is just for the money. They get the bigger teams and bigger money. But the love of the game, you've grown up for the group stages. I know I'm a bit younger than you, but like since I've got into football, I love the group stage draw. Waking up,
Oh,
get a coffee, cracking the digestives, and seeing who draws who. Now that's gone.
mate, I'm totally with you. Totally with you. I love the group stages. I know a lot of people that won't watch the Champions League until it gets past the group stages.
Yep.
I'll be honest with you, because they want that elite football, which is what the Champions League is. It is the best of the best of the best of the best, supposedly, because that's exactly what it says on the tin. It's the Champions League. The format, I really don't like the idea of that format. It'll probably stop me watching the Champions League if I'm honest. That format.
It's like this playoff and all this crap. I watched the basketball. They've changed their format as well. Like you play in run as well if you're not in the top six.
Will that be the same format in the Europa League as well?
I haven't checked, but I think they will. I've only because that Champions League it is the biggest one. I think that, but usually they do correlate because if they change one, because like they have one group stage and then the other is like a league, it'll make it weird. But I think they'll all start changing over. But for example, like the teams back home in the NIFL League, back in Belfast, the Ireland, usually one of the teams try and go in the qualifiers for the Champions League or the Europa League. But now that makes it even harder that they can't get into the group stage. Like it'll be more like putting an extra 10% impossible.
But isn't it qualifiers for those type of teams? Don't you have to play like 4 or 5 games before you get to like the first qualifying rounds?
Yeah, but the thing is that they'll mix it all this sort of up because then managers will be thinking, you go through all these rounds, but then what happens is it's jump straight into the bottom 15. It's changed because it used to be 32 teams with that group, moved up an extra 4 teams. It's 36 teams just in one league. Are you having a laugh?
And with all due respect, it's not going to help teams like Clifton, Villa, or Glentoran in your leagues, is it? Because they're never going to get anywhere near, are they?
Yeah, but even with the Europa League, you want like the point of that sort of the Irish teams or them sort of other countries get into that group stage. But no, it's not even that question. You have to probably change that qualifying round as well. You'll be going like it was even like 5 years ago. It was impossible nearly if you get in them groups because back home it's getting more money. But now it looks like them clubs are just saying it looks impossible now because that league. You go into that because you probably have to play an extra round. I haven't really done before, but like looking at this sort of format, they'll probably change everything about it. Which I think that person's right that what's coming is worse because like
it sounds that way, doesn't
it? Because like I think extra teams getting extra places and all this crap that you're going. It's looks like the head of the FIFA and stuff is just looking more money.
It just sounds like to me that they're making that European Super League that people didn't want.
Yep.
By pushing the teams out, by only letting those teams get through there. Because with all due respect, don't we all love a little minnow that gets through to the semi-final?
Yeah,
Like
they'll
we
regulate
do.
smaller teams because if you think about it, them smaller teams, you need to finish in the top 8 to go directly into the knockouts. That was never the case. That was never the case. Whereas now there's more teams in that sort of enter a playoff between 9 and 24.
I'll put it to you that Porto wouldn't have won what we were discussing. They wouldn't have won that because they wouldn't even have got that far.
Yeah, that's when, because I think it'll make even these qualifying rounds even tougher to even get in the league because like you still probably have them qualifying rounds. But if you go through an actual qualifying probably, what there might be, then you go into that league. You're talking you need to get into the top 15 to get a playoff. Because like I don't think any of smaller teams to get into the top 8 to go directly into the knockout stages because to get in that top 8, which will be very, very, very hard. Whereas years ago, you just need to finish top 2. You can slide in because a big team might have a bad Champions League group, and then a smaller team gets second and qualifies.
Yeah, that's going to be. See, that could work in a really bad way, couldn't it? If one of those big teams doesn't win the games, like didn't Barcelona do that a few years ago, or a German team, and he got a few points in the and
but look,
barely scraped through, didn't they?
I know. Did they not finish last?
I
in
think
that
so.
Copenhagen group, in that mad group. So, like, what way does it? It hasn't really explained all the sort of. Remember the group stages? If you finish third, you go in the Europa League. This sort of format hasn't really explained all that. If you
I
finish,
think they should just keep it how it is.
Well, if you probably it might be if you finish 25th. Like, who wants to finish 25th and go in the Europa League? What are you going to do? Just go around each week to pay to leave it? Whereas them group stages, will fight to try and get that third spot. You have that buzz. Whereas this isn't the case now.
It'll take the joy out and the mystique out of European football, won't it? Because obviously, with a little club like the clubs that you've discussed from your neck of the woods, like Glentoran and places like that, and other clubs that I've been involved with.
But even like
it's that possibility of getting there, isn't it?
Basel and Switzerland, or even like the Champions League, where
that Karabag team that played in the Champions League, they're never going to play in it again if that's the case, are they?
Like for them to get into that knockout stage, they would need an absolute miracle now for this new format. Whereas when they got into the group stage, you're going, wait, have we run? Wait, have we run if we get third, or probably get the top 2 if we're lucky? But now you're looking as one of them underdogs going, this looks like it's a different war. This is
it's only going to make the richer clubs richer and the poorer clubs poorer.
I think that's what they want, because if you think about this 30-16 format, the top 8, like they'll be the master clubs, and then between 9 and 24, you'll get a good team in the next round against a smaller team that probably might win. Because you're thinking, because all them big teams won in the round of 16 at least. So like, you might even get a bad team in that sort of round, which will make it sort of harder because you're playing 2 legs for that sort of playoff round.
And so then it's not relatable, is it?
And it hasn't. Like another point is that first 8 goes into the knockout rounds, they'll get more risk because like you have to wait for that playoff round between the teams 9 to 24. Whereas years ago it was just you go directly in the knockout stages with this sort of date.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sort of is an interesting one, which will be probably the next season. It'll be interesting how that goes.
Yeah, I'd like to see how that plays out, to be honest.
Yeah, and the next sort of topic is your funniest moment in your career so far.
Oh, funniest.
Or your craziest moment.
Oh, I've had many crazy moments.
Which is that your sort of funniest crazy at the top sort of list?
Just so that game, I'm not going to discuss which teams it was because it'll probably give it away.
Just
put me in a particular position. But I was in a game against a former boss, shall we say. And it was quite early on in my coaching career. And we scored a 90th minute winner. And I lost my head. Celebrated, went mad, absolutely went tits. Ran over to the boss. And as soon as I'd finished celebrating, he went, "Have you finished now?" And when you just, for me at the time, it was a laughy moment. But in hindsight, you think, "Oh dear, I've just made myself look an absolute tit to everybody else apart from myself and thought I was the nuts." Do you know what I'm saying? And he always reminds me of that. Every time I see him, he's like, "Have you calmed down now?" it was only one game, Sam, wasn't it? And you know when you think, yeah, okay, fair enough. I laughed about it at the time. I loved it at the time. But I've had a few like that. My over celebrating gets me into trouble.
Yeah, that's a cracker one. Just add
Mm-hmm.
on to that sort of one with this sort of topic. Is refereeing tougher than people think? As you have that referee.
1,000,000%.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to be a certain. I thought as a coach, you have to be a certain type of person to be a ref. And all of those words weren't pleasant. Let's put it that way. Now I'm reffing, I realise how hard it is. I reffed on Sunday, so it's my second adults game that I reffed was on Sunday. If the game had gone on for another 10 minutes, I guarantee there was 2 or 3 red cards. But I think because of the type of player I was and the reputation I had as a player, I wasn't a very good one, but I was quite a dirty player, shall we say. I knew all the dark arts, so I set my stall out as a ref really early. I always get both managers, both skippers, and basically say, look, I know all the dark arts. Don't try any of your business with me. I know it all already. I'm the master at this stuff, so don't bother. And it's worked for me. It worked for me. Yeah, it's working. It's difficult though. Believe me, it's really
Yeah,
difficult.
I get where you're coming from because, like, when I went home for the summer and there was a game I went up to watch, but the referee didn't turn up, and both teams says, "Can I do ref?" And I went, "Yeah, I'll try it out." First time ever done ref. I went, "This is crazy shit." I was running around like Dizzy Rascal. Apparently,
That's
after
it.
the game, one of the coaches says, "You get 2 of them goals offside." And 2 of the goals were miles offside. I was way back before the line.
See, my problem is that I stand in positions as if I was a player. So in my first ref game, there's a goal kick. I'm standing like a centre half, waiting for the ball to come over, watching. So I'm standing waiting for the ball to come this way. And then my brain just went, "You're not playing anymore, Sam. You need to move. You're in the way of their centre halves that actually need to win the ball."
What gets me is the transition.
Mm.
That's what gets me. What got me in the summer is, like, I didn't think it was that hard transitioning. Like, when you're on the sideline, you see this ref. When you're actually in it, like, that ball, like, back home, it's crazy. The ball goes left to right. It's like when they need up in Plymouth or something. Like, never mind a Glentoran or stuff
I
like
did,
that. Like,
yesterday in the game, I did 25,000 steps in the game. And I'm not saying I was the best ref in regards to positioning. I didn't spend a lot of time in the centre circle, but I certainly didn't run me bits off, or did I think I've run my bits off? But that amount of steps in a game proves that you get about, and I have a better understanding and a better acknowledgement for refs that older refs that do stay in the centre circle and ref from the centre circle. They're doing that because they physically can't do anything different. They've been refing for 10 years and they're done.
yeah, and that's a really good sort of one because lots of probably players are want to probably make go in there often. What advice would you
I
give
think
them? What
I think
advice would you
every
give?
coach, I think every single coach in every single league should have a go at refing a game at least once.
Is that your sort of advice? Yeah, to probably give it a try and experience it.
Because
Yep.
you calm down as a coach. I guarantee you, for me personally, now when I go into a game as a coach, as a head coach, because I am a head coach at the academy, but it's not quite the same. When I go into like Saturday or Sundays as a head coach, I'm going to be different towards a referee than I was before.
Yep.
Because I realise how difficult it is. You've got to think at grassroots level, the ref is on his own. You've got a lino from each side that is the substitution from the players that will cheat at every given opportunity for their team. So as a ref on a Sunday league, you are on your own. So you think that when you make a decision, you are on your own. On a more sanctioned league, like as in in Northamptonshire, we have our under 18s league is a midweek floodlit league. So that will be on a Thursday. So they've got proper linos and stuff there. But on a Sunday, you're on your own. So if you make a bad decision, you're on your own. You could be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, that's because back home it's only at the past league. Back in Belfast that they would have sort of lineup, but at youth level, the refs are on their own. Sort of the youth sort of coaching, like that's why the sort of you need to adapt and probably try it out because I was by myself and I just knew that this was crazy and fair play the referees when you're on it. like when I tried it, was class. I think I was doing some dancing more than running.
It's even worse when you're reffing. It's worse than you're reffing players that you know. So that happened to me on Sunday. It's the first time that I've ref players that I've previously coached, and it's difficult because when you're trying to tell somebody he's been an idiot, and he comes back to you saying, "Well, when you were my coach, you told me to do that," is pretty hard to take on the chin.
Yeah, that would be a tough one. Like if you're coaching a player and they're trying to tell you, you told me to do this, that would be a nightmare. So like the last sort of overall topic is Ajax not even in the top 3 this season, and you're probably knowledge of the sort of Eredivisie for the scouting. Going from the sort of overachievers in the Champions League to this sort of chaos this season, and probably there was a bit of nerves last season, and apparently that they spent all this crazy money, 200 near million they spent over the past 2 years.
Wow.
Like some of these players they're banned, like Bergwijn and Akpom for like the ball Akpom for about 14 million nearly.
Jeez, I think they need a new
like if you're going
recruitment
off
department.
Ajax, the youth, their top strikers, Huntelaar they had from Boston years ago. Like
Ajax have had some class players come through.
You're going from these strikers to Akpom. Like no wonder you're 21 points off the league because you're banning these sort of players. Like Ten Hag had that master run. I think that's what it was. Coming through that academy, and then the Soap Timber, Judas, and others.
It smells of desperation from Ajax there, doesn't it? That they need instant gratification. So they're trying to buy players.
Well, didn't it? There was a bit, like, started saying there was just chaos, that they were in the bottom 3 and they worked their way up recently after Christmas. Now they're in the
that's a prime example of what happens when a manager comes into the club and is in charge of everything. So I presume Ten Hag was in charge of every single little detail down to the tea lady. Obviously, they've tried to do that now, but with the Ajax board, they obviously can't trust another manager like that. Because ultimately, a manager's lifespan at a club, positive or negative, is the average of like a year, 2 years, isn't it? 3 years. It's not a lot. So maybe Ajax didn't want to put in the little minute things and just try to spend on players. But yeah, is that Chuba the one that used to be at Arsenal, I presume?
Yep.
Yeah, he weren't great there, was he? And he weren't great when he played in the Championship either.
He's all right. So, like them strikers I named, he's not even on the same page.
Yeah, you wouldn't. You just wouldn't, would you? Like
they
needed to go out.
Like they had Tadic. Like I think these players they're banned. They're not even replacing the players they had. Like you're going completely different. Like Tadic, Timber, and then you're banning these players.
It's the problem that could be is that players just don't want to go to Ajax anymore. Maybe it could be a big case that they look at Ajax and think you are not a superpower like you used to be. Because Ajax, when I was a kid, were massive.
Yep.
Like, were one of the best teams around. Like, how would I know of Ajax as a kid if they weren't good? Do you know what I'm saying? Just like nowadays, my lad knows all about Al Nassr and all them rubbish teams over there because of them being famous teams. He barely knows Ajax. He's got an Ajax shirt because I've been to Amsterdam, but he's not as clued up as he is of Al Nassr. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, he could name a whole Al Nassr squad. I don't think he could name 2 or 3 players that currently play for Ajax, which is heartbreaking.
That money they spent, like you're going, that's crazy on a point that you think Ajax, that most of that team was through the youth, like Frankie de Jong and stuff. Ten Hag brought them through the youth, whereas why have they went from they're one of the best youth academies to ban all this bluff money? Like why,
it just proves that Ajax is now a selling club rather than a club that's a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, I think that's the sort of big point. And the last just add-on topic is what's your best all-time 11 and you're only allowed to use one player from one country?
See, I knew you were going to say that, so I kind of had to think about this one. And I've gone for some obscure country players so I can get a few others in. So my goalkeeper, oh God, it's horrible to say this as well, is going to be Peter Schmeichel. Because when I was growing up, those formative years of football, he was the be all and end all of goalkeepers in the Premier League. And then there's a little cheeky one that's definitely a nation where there's not going to be too many players of all time coming from as well, isn't it? And obviously, when he went to Man City, I'm not sure if you're old enough, but he went to Man City near the end of his career and Villa and places like that. And he kind of poo-pooed himself a little bit. He should have stayed at Man United and then maybe just retired a bit. But for me, he was the be-all and end-all. Some of the things I saw him do as a kid probably got me into football. Some of the saves he was making and the way he held himself as a goalkeeper, they've all got to be a little bit mad, didn't they? And he certainly was.
You have to be sort of a bit mad in some way.
Oh, you have to be a bit crazy to be a keeper, yeah. So yeah, that's my goalkeeper. My left back is somebody that you mentioned earlier, and I think there can only be one option as a left back. And I think that's Maldini. There is no option as a left back of all time. The greatest left back is there, apart from Roberto Carlos, maybe. But I'm going to go Maldini.
You use your Italian one up early.
You are?
The Italian one up early.
Yeah, because I'm not the biggest fan of Italian players, and I think he's probably one of my favourites. Centre halves, it's a tough one, isn't it? Very, very tough one. It's difficult. I thought of a few because I'm an Ireland fan, as you can tell, like by my surname. I was thinking of a few Ireland players, but I want to save my one particular Ireland player for a position that's not one that you're thinking.
I did it different. I'm doing mine live, so like I'm just doing mine while you're calling it your one, and I'll call it my own.
So, one of my centre halves, I am going to go for Sergio Ramos, because he's the type of player that I'd hate to play against, but love to coach, because he seems like the ultimate bumhole for his sides. Every club that he's at, he is a horrible, horrible person for those sides, but he gets the job done. And he's a good player, so we'll go with that. The other centre half is somebody that I obviously spoke about earlier, is going to be Rio Ferdinand.
Yep.
And then my right back is from Championship Manager 0102. He's probably about 900 million years old right now, but he was the best right back I've ever seen, and that was Cafu. Do you remember seeing Cafu?
No, my team would be a bit probably later dated compared to.
I've got some later ones coming, believe me. But Cafu was. He always looked about 50 years old. Cafu.
I've seen like YouTube videos of him and Maldini, but I didn't really have too much.
Mate, he was magnificent. A 40-year-old man that could get up and down the pitch quicker than most 19-year-olds and still play a perfect ball. Like, he was phenomenal. I'm going to go 4-4-2 because I am old school and it's the easier way to figure it out. So my left wing, I am going to go for one of my footballing heroes. Means nothing to nobody else, but he's going to be a footballing hero for me. So my left winger is going to be Damien Duff. Because I'm a massive Ireland fan, and I believe he won the Premiership quite a few times. So I think he won it with Chelsea, and I've got a feeling he might have been in that squad that won it with Blackburn.
I think he may
because that's where Chelsea bought him from, wasn't it, Blackburn?
But I think that was the player Fulham, wasn't it, as well?
Yeah, he went to Fulham. Yeah, he went to Fulham after. My right wing, I went through about 20 different options in my head. I looked at David Beckham, but then I realised that I had Rio Ferdinand as my centre back. So my right winger, it's going to have to be Ronaldo, isn't it?
Yeah, Ronaldo.
I'm going to have to pick him. I couldn't not pick him, could I?
I'm more of a Messi fan.
See, I'm the other way.
I get where you're coming from with Ronaldo.
See, with me, for Ronaldo, the only reason he's better than Messi is because he's proved it in different countries. More different countries than Messi has for me. I'd love to have seen Messi in the Premier League. Then you could have a comparable to Ronaldo. I think the reason that Ronaldo sticks out for me
is... isn't it? Just that Messi's the season. I think that you wouldn't want to leave that Barca sort of... Because like, it's the same with Maldini, that them one club players, that they're in a different league. And I think that's what Messi at Barca, because people would have said, why did Maldini not test in the league?
I think with Messi, he was always very pampered in the players that were around him. When Ronaldo first went to Man United, he was crap. like different levels of crap. As a player, he changed his physique, he changed his mentality, he changed everything about himself to be the player he wants to be. With Messi, he had no need to, because any mistake he made in that team, he had 10 other players around him that would make up for that mistake. When Ronaldo first came to Man United, they had the likes of, he signed for Man United at the same time as Kleberson. You probably don't even know who Kleberson is. Like, he was a Brazilian World Cup winner. That was pants. So look at that. And like Forlan was there at Man United at the time. So Man United had terrible players at the time, but he did the job. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, so for me, Ronaldo is definitely that winger. It's got to be that guy. So I've done my two wingers, my two centre mids. It's a difficult one, isn't it?
It is a tough one because one for each country.
Mm.
I only need one more player for mine.
It's a hard one, but the one country I want to save, I've got to save for up top. But my centre mids, I've got to go with Luka Modric. Because ultimately he's class.
You picked your striker, didn't you, man?
You are?
You've picked your striker, haven't you?
Not yet.
So
Ronaldo's going to be my right winger.
Right winger. And then Modric for that midfield. Good choice.
Sorry.
Modric for the midfield, that's a good choice.
Yeah, I really do. I rate Modric. I've seen him play a few times. I really, 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 really do rate him. Like really rate him. Very, very good player. And he's another one of those that gets better with age, isn't he?
Yeah, it seems year in year out, he just keeps performing.
Like,
he's not my other centre. He's not looked as much as like other players, but he should.
100%. My other centre mid player is one that nobody will pick in a million years ever. And he's from a country that nobody would pick from a million years ever. But for me personally, he was a bit of an idol for me growing up as a player. So my other centre mid is going to be Ferguson, the lad that played for Rangers, Barry Ferguson. He played for Rangers and he played for Birmingham.
I don't know.
So he was the captain of Rangers. He was a very, very good player when I was growing up, and he was a bit of an idol for the type of position I'd like to play. So it's a bit left field of being out there, but it's going to be Barry Ferguson there. I think it's Barry Ferguson. I'm sure that's his name. It's definitely Ferguson, but I can't remember I'm sure it's Barry Ferguson. He was the captain at Birmingham, and he was the captain at Rangers, and I think he's just gone into management as well. So yeah, we've got to go there, haven't we?
So that's your sort of team done?
I've got two strikers to go in, so
4-4-2.
Yeah. And I've used my Brazilians. I've used all the bigger names, which is a bit of a tough one, isn't it?
It's hard because like I've done this one a while back. And if you use the bigger countries quick, then you're left with sort of deep water.
Yeah, you're lesser players. But one of my strikers that I don't think I've used of a country so far, who I think is underrated as a player due to his own arrogance, I've got to throw Zlatan in there, I feel. As an Ireland fan, that goal against England that Zlatan scored was probably the most celebrated goal I've celebrated with my friends in a pub ever. And it was the closest I got to getting an absolute hiding watching an England game in a pub with a load of friends. Because I celebrated that overhead kick like I'd scored it. And it might have got me in a slight bit of trouble. So, yeah. Yeah. He's going to be one of my strikers. And the other striker is going to be, see, Messi's not making my squad, is a personal cult hero of mine. And it's going to be somebody that I spoke about earlier. And my other striker is going to be the almighty Luciano Becchio. And you probably not even heard of him, to be fair.
No, I haven't heard of him, no. Some of them I haven't heard because of my time, but as we know they're probably in your all time, you probably know that they are world class. Like.
Are you upset that I've missed out Wayne Routledge being a Swansea fan, or meet you?
I'm actually disappointed that sort of didn't pop up.
Because I presume as a Swansea fan, Michu's a bit of a cult hero for you, isn't he?
He is what made me start supporting Swansea. Like. He was.
Every time you scored as a goal as a kid, did you start doing this? Did you?
I did it once. That was the one.
Oh, mate, I
Kids
wouldn't worry.
they always
My
talk
lad
about
does
it.
thousands of celebrations. Like, he don't even like certain players. Like, we're Leeds fans, yeah? Last goal he scored, he give it this. You know, the Rashford thing? I'm saying to it, put your hand down. Get your hand down. He claps himself off now when he's getting subbed in a kid's game. Like, clapping to the crowd that's not even there. Mate, it happens. It does
No, but
happen. But yeah.
I thought you would put William Murphy in. I thought that would have been like what he done. He was the one.
There's millions of players that could come through at Swansea you could put in, but yeah, that's
I'm not Gary
my
Monk.
11.
I'm not Gary Monk.
What? Lucky you.
The all-time Swansea legend, centre half.
Lucky you. I have very, very negative connotations with that particular manager. A manager that nearly killed my bloody club.
Leeds United.
Yeah,
Okay.
he was
I'm
terrible
glad
for us, mate.
the Swansea and the Leeds have a bit of rivalry now and again.
Yeah, just a little bit, but it's not as bad as you and Cardiff, is it?
Yeah, not too much, but I'm glad he done well with us. But when I seen him, he says that it went crazy at Birmingham as well. I think he just wants to take time out recently because like it was just circle running for him. I think he jumped too early, and he was saying like he went from them clubs quite early where he didn't really take a gap. He got sacked and then he went straight in, which I know the comparison is, but it can go one way or the other.
If we're going for the team of the ultimate team, I'm going to go for an ultimate manager, and it's not going to be any of the managers that we've discussed. The ultimate manager for me is going to be Neil Warnock.
So Neil Warnock is managing your team?
Yeah, because I think he'd get the best out of all of them players. Because look at the teams he's been at. The teams that he's been at have been absolutely dog poo, Neil Warnock, haven't they? Let's face it, the players that he could afford were crap. The wages he could pay were crap. He's got a very good promotion record. Like he didn't work out for him at Leeds, granted, but everywhere else he's been, and he seems like the type of manager that would tell you the truth. Don't think there's many of those about.
Yes. He gets the best out of the players, and that's the sort of.
And I'll tell you what, we'll go for his assistant manager of a bit of a club legend at yours, who I was always wowed by as a kid. We'll go for the assistant manager as Lee Trundle.
Yep, Lee Trundle. That's the one.
I met him a few times when I was a kid, and I was absolutely wowed, like I'd met Rooney. Because do you remember on Soccer? Well, maybe you don't, but on Soccer AM, every time Lee Trundle did something fancy or funky on the football pitch, it was on Soccer AM.
Yep, the Soccer AM, he always loves the wee flick up and sort of that. But he done that when he was playing for Swansea. Like when I seen the videos on YouTube, he used to do it in the early starts of Swansea. Like he was the Swansea sort of legend. Like what he did, I would have loved it if he came through the game later. Like if you had him through at the championship or sort of whatever. Like if he could have done it.
Mate, I think he's still playing. I'm almost certain he's still playing.
He's playing in like Wales, like second.
I'm sure it's at Real that he's playing.
It was Wales the last
or
game.
Welshport or somebody like that.
It was like the Wales second division. He was still flicking it out. That sort of one.
But he's the ambassador for Swansea City, isn't he?
Yep, he's in the sort of striker. I don't think anyone comes sort of better at that sort of unique skill at his sort of level.
That's a polite way of saying a big fat striker that couldn't move but had loads of skills.
I'm just fast. So I'll give my team.
Go on.
Get my team. I'm going Ederson and goal. Brazilian. Ederson.
Oh yeah.
Ederson.
Yeah.
Right back. Trent Alexander-Arnold.
I could see why you think that, but he's not very good defensively, is he?
I'm going with the wing backs. I'm going.
All right.
I'm going this game just to try and win the game. Like.
You're going Basingua style, yeah? You know, the one that came from Porto with Mourinho, that guy. That type of player.
Going with Virgil van Dijk from the Netherlands.
Okay.
And then I'm going with someone who we were talking about earlier with like a bit of fight. We're going a bit out to Poland. Glink. He's an up goal. He'll run through a brick wall.
Oh, God.
I think that's what Van Dijk hasn't had recently. Someone like not like Joe Gomez. If you have big leg, he would have took Sergio Aguero to the moon. Look.
Oh, see, I think Virgil van Dijk is the most overrated centre half I've ever seen in my life. I saw a quote from somebody recently that said, Van Dijk's really, really lucky that these big Lister players no longer play in the Premier League. And I think it was Gary Neville or somebody like that were like, there's no Didier Drogba, there's no Mark Viduka, there's no Alan Shearer, if he played against any of them, Van Dijk would look absolutely average. But for your era,
some people don't like it, but it's just, I think football, it is the opinions, and like different eras will have different opinions. It's a bit like basketball and stuff, like where I would say Steph Curry's the best ever, and then people are going Michael Jordan. But how can you compare them?
Like, how many times at home have you been told that George Best is the best player of all time ever?
Loads.
Correct.
In the league, like your coaching, like George Best is in there. Like people say he's the best from their league, but I ain't going to haven't seen him. You know what I mean? Like I haven't seen him, but like they're going there sort of way they were brought up. They would say George Best, and then people go like Harry Cantona or something like that. Like everyone has their sort, but I'm going from my few Virgil and Gleich, and then left wing back. I'm going with a inverted like wing back. I know he plays sort of defensive mid or right back, but I'm putting him on the left side, a bit of risk. Kimmich, I think he's from player sort of view. I think he has everything. So
underrated, isn't he?
Yep. Joshua Kimmich, he's sort of what, right? It's a weird sort of, I'm going him to cut him more inside. Trent, so it's a bit of attacking with them, leaving Gleich, Virgil. And then I have Xavi, that's the Spain side, with Kevin De Bruyne and Modric. What a midfield. Yeah.
What a midfield.
Out the right, the GOAT, Lionel Messi. Out the left, Cristiano Ronaldo. And then I'm using up my Italian style, who probably from my days of watching would be Francesco Totti as a centre forward.
Oh, see, what a player. See, so when I was a kid, I used to watch, I don't think you've probably experienced this, but on a Sunday afternoon on Channel 4, you used to have a TV show called Gollissimo, which was
like
brothers
talk about two. My brothers are Italian fans.
So that was
one
match of the day,
Syria. Milan, so they were talking about them sort of the Calcio days.
So that the joy of that was that's how I fell in love with Del Piero. Like, what a player. And then when Fulham played Juventus in the Europa League in the semi-final, I think it was, before they got to the final, I went to that game and I shouted Del Piero's name. He waved at me and I fangirled it. I was with a friend. I was like, oh my God, Del Piero's just waved at me. I got all excitable and everything. Do you know what I'm saying? And due to that reason, so I get it with Totti. Totti is probably one of the most underrated players because he didn't move anywhere.
I watched loads of players. Like I watched his last 2-3 years, which were fast, but seeing YouTube videos of his early days, unbelievable his early days. But
and you got to remember at that time as well, the amount of quality strikers in Italy. Like Luca Toni was another unsung hero. He was class. And then you had Del Piero that was a possible player there. And you had up-teen amount of players. For Totti to be the best one out of those says a lot. Imagine how much he'd be worth nowadays. Yeah. We were talking about 25 to 30 million for a championship player. You'd be paying 400, 500 million for Totti at 20 years old, wouldn't you?
Yeah, them Italian strikers. People thought, like, if you're talking 100 million for them sort of players now, you're talking near 300, 400 million for Totti, Del Piero. Like, they're on their prime. Nowadays, people, you don't have the budget.
You just wouldn't, would you? Like, that whole team back in the day of that Juventus team would have cost them close to 2, 3, 4 billion pounds to put that team together.
I say that if you on the left side, give me a piece of paper, one side Mbappe, one side Totti, I'd pick Totti all day long. Mbappe, in my opinion, is overrated.
For me, I totally agree with you.
If he wants speed, he can join the Olympics and race Usain Bolt.
I get you. And for him, Mbappe, I get that he's won everything by a certain age, but go test yourself.
PSG hasn't won the Champions League. That's the big one. You want to get these new contracts, all this, and no Champions League, what they want.
Then go to Real Madrid, go to Barcelona, go to Juventus, go to one of the big teams and prove yourself if you're that good.
That's the big one. And my manager, the manager is the big one. The big
Gary
one.
Bloody Monk, is it?
It's coming out to me. Michael Laudrup.
Okay.
Yep.
I
What
can
he
see
done
that.
for us, he got us towards that sort of Europa League stage. That was the sort of his football, and his management style was. He played for Barca as well. I think he
And
would.
he's the type of type of manager that could go onto the training pitch with the players and show them how it's done.
And then assistant manager,
Go on.
Gary Monk.
Oh, for God's sake. What, for his poor man management skills or the fact he gets clubs relegated? You choose. I bet Lee Trundle's there eating a pie, getting really upset with you.
He can be sporting director. And then a coach I'm going to bring in.
Go on.
Just to help out Sam Allardyce.
What, just so he can stand there giving it the cross arm thing? Yeah.
He's going to make sure that we don't concede the goals. He has that defensive era that if they're sort of going down 1-0, he can try.
Go for a defensive. I personally would suggest they're two very good teams, aren't they?
Both very, very good. Both. Like, if both of them went first to each other, that would be a very close game.
I think you'd have to look at certain players in their prime because I think Damien Duff nowadays is a little bit lackluster, I'll be honest.
Yeah. I think Prime will have to go with because like, if you somehow involved.
I reckon Lee Trundle could still work his magic on those players.
It's a close one, but I think Prime would be more relatable. I think from them nowadays would probably be hard to go. Because I think our boy Blake, I think he might be 38 now or something. I would have to go as early 26, 27-year-old days.
I've got a feeling that Luciano Becchio's mid-40s, so yeah, probably not quite there or thereabouts anymore.
Yeah, it's right now. My team will exploit you out, just long ball down the channels.
Got 2 OAPs on either wing I have. They just can't move. It's very much like watching Sunday League football.
Crazy. I know it's been a long sort of, it's very enjoyable, and I know we're sort of wrapping up, but thanks very much, with some delays as well. But thanks for spending some time. And
oh, no problem.
I'm on this episode, Sam. I really appreciate it, and your knowledge is phenomenal. And there's a tradition on this podcast where the last guest leaves a question for the next guest. So the questions there for you, Sam, is what is your why? Why do you do the things you do? Like in life or coaching or scout. Why? What is your why you left?
Why do I do it? There's a positive reason, and there's not, and then there's just another reason. So the other reason is, what else would I do if I wasn't doing football? What else is there to life? Because if you don't like football or sport, what do you do? Because I can't remember. Ever since I've been a kid, I've always been occupied on a Saturday with football. What do you do? And why I do it, for the love of the football. Like, I'm sure you'll understand more than most, the adrenaline rush of a win or seeing something that you've worked on training come to life is always amazing. I wouldn't go as I've had my own child and stuff. I've had my own child and I've won bits and bobs and I've had my own personal achievements, but there is no better feeling than a 3 points after a well-deserved win on a Saturday afternoon.
Run down that touchline.
Mate, I've done it before and I'm sure, I have no doubt I'll do it again.
One thing what I'm hoping for is to repeat the Mourinho celebration on TV. That's my dream. The knee slide. See what he did? I think it was Porto, weren't there? When he scored the last minute or when they won the cup.
And they slid down the touchline.
No one's repeated that yet, I think. No.
I
think someone's run into it, but not the exact sort of knee slide, which was all over social media that time. I was like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'll be honest. That's the height of football, isn't it? Where you've become a meme.
I think you're more likely to do it before me.
I think I probably am.
Twitter or something. Sam Leeds Day 2030.
Yeah, well, I'd like to think I'm famous, but I'm more infamous rather than famous, I reckon.
It's probably debatable. Like, and sort of probably people who know you, they'll probably say you're more famous, but
I'm certainly disliked in my local region for the reasons given previously. But I'm sure that's what I always got told as a coach in my early years, that you hate everybody that plays on an opposition team because you wish they'd play for you. So a lot of people that are Man United fans hate Mo Salah because they're jealous that he doesn't play for Man United. So I'd like to think with my coaching style, people are annoyed that I don't coach for their team.
Yeah. As like our sort of personalities, teams will probably hate us because of our sort of way we go on with things. Teams will want the sort of the nice guys to say.
And do you know where nice guys finish, don't you? Last. That's where they finish.
In my opinion, I don't see that, but some do. But it's the last. You're right in some sort of they're last and sort of picked, but we're in the top. So
nice guys don't mind winning or losing. They're there to participate. Not so nice guys are there for the 3 points.
Going back to the point, what was he thinking? Like, surely if he was sitting down in that match, surely he couldn't have just been the nice guy and just thought that was just a runaround. I couldn't.
Coaches that sit down obviously have other things they're thinking of at the time. So when Wayne Rooney's sitting on that bench, he's thinking how many millions he's counting.
Or when he's getting called in the 4P45.
Correct. Like, I have never sat down in a game for that duration of time. The most I've ever sat down is 2 minutes tops. And that's me discussing with my assistant, what's my next move? Just, it really, it boils my blood that somebody that can just do that. Like we both give any amount in the money in the world to be a professional football coach for one day. Of course he would. If somebody said to you, on Saturday, you can be Swansea City manager for one game, you are interim manager for one game, you'd be walking from Wolves to Swansea right now to make it there for Saturday. I guarantee you this.
No brainer. I'll be straight down there, repeating the game on.
Do you see what I'm saying? So, like, Wayne Rooney sitting on a bench, that's just disrespectful to Birmingham.
Yeah. But sums up this sort of world we're living in, that you can get just sacked anything now. Like, John Eustace was, like, in my opinion, he was a top championship manager. Like, for that level, he was doing really well. In the top 6, but Birmingham over expectations, then suddenly, boom, get the boot. And then Wayne Rooney comes in and drops down 8 places. Like, it was.
He wasn't even doing that good in the MLS, to be fair.
Like, as we were talking earlier, that his track record and stuff just didn't deserve that job. And it just shows you that football, even the Prem as well, like, team managers have got sacked just out of the blue, and you're just going. But thanks to harsh reality when you're at the top, championship or Prem.
That's the cutthroatness of football, I'm afraid.
Like, toughest league in the world. It is.
I think if you want to prove yourself as a manager or a player, you play in the Championship. Because on any given week, any team can beat any team. In the Premier League, the top 6 beat the bottom 14 or whatever there is in the Premier League. The top 6 will dominate those games. In the Championship, it doesn't matter if Leicester are winning the Championship by 15 points. They can still get beaten by the bottom of the league team.
Yeah, but every game, like, is it near enough competitive as anyone? Like, even teams at lower league in the Championship beat the teams at the top. There's no real, because away to them teams is like really hard, like really tough. There's tight pitches. And
yeah, 100%. When you're one of the bigger teams in the Championship as well, you're a cup final for the smaller teams. It's that simple. And if you're a bigger team, like for me, as being a Leeds fan, I've watched Leeds play against lots of smaller teams this season. They see it as the cup final, and they'll sit and defend against the Leeds team for 85 minutes on the hope that they'll get a counter-attack. Because rightly so, that's what you do, isn't it? In the Premier League, that's what they do as well. But it's a different standard of quality of sitting, isn't it?
Yeah, it's different because, as I've seen earlier, that the Premier League has changed to sort of adapt style of the section base. But Championship, there's good 4 or 5 teams you're still hoofing that ball, which is hard to play against. Like Millwall have never changed their style, which is, and the sort of like the Sheffield Wednesday and stuff is hard to play against.
I wouldn't want to go to Millwall on a Saturday afternoon, to be honest with you. I've been there once as a fan, and it was so intimidating. It was quite nerve-wracking. So imagine being a player there, an opposition player that they don't like. Can you imagine the amount of abuse you get there? And rightly so if they didn't like you, but Jesus Christ, I would not want to go to the Den as a player of the opposition to score a goal. If I scored a goal at the Den, I would literally just try and stand towards the centre circle because that's the only place I wouldn't get any abuse.
Yes, what is the one of the fiercest places to go in England? Like it's in the top like 4 or 5. Like it's,
Well, I paid not the last time Leeds were in the Championship. I paid £90 for a dodgy ticket outside Millwall, and I sat in the Millwall diehard end. I went with a friend who paid exactly the same from a hawker outside, and was sat in the executive boxes eating sandwiches. I was gutted. I thought I was going to get killed. Luckily, I have this accent rather than a northern accent, so I could get away with it a bit more. And I've been to some big games. I've been to a couple of big games, but that is definitely the most intimidating I've ever been to.
yeah, I would sort of agree. Like from the stories, like they are they used to have some sort of gang group or something like.
Oh yeah, they've had a few, and then Birmingham's probably the second one because they used to have a group of hooligans called the Zulus at Birmingham, and they were very, very scary people.
I imagine getting chased by the Zulus.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
No, it's mad in sort of these stadiums you go to, but you don't really get much in the Prem. Like Prem's just that luxury sort of place to go. Whereas them League One or Championship teams, you're going to sort of war zone.
That's why I love
Like,
non-league football.
yeah,
I'm going to war, and they're going to war. Like a couple of weeks ago, I went to Brackley Town versus Scunthorpe, and Scunthorpe have dropped down quite considerably now. They're not in the Football League. They're not in the conference. They're in the North and South of the conference. And that was like two tribes going to war. It was so much more tribal. That's why I love non-league football. It is like what football should be. It is my team going to war with your team, and we're going for it. In the Premier League, I feel like it's just a really good excuse for some people to have a lovely day out.
yeah, we just lovely Saturday afternoon, see 50 passes, no goal. That's the way it is now. But whereas them, no, like you're still getting like 2 each or 4-2 or 5-3 or something like that. I think Wrexham, what was it, like 6 each or something last season or this season? There was like a mad score. You don't get that in the Prem. They got luxurious sort of style.
No, and it's all a little bit like it's more about the corporate experience in the Premier League, isn't it?
It's all about
Like,
the day out, you say. It's all about getting that ticket, 40-50 quid, sit in the stand and watch the good your players. But
or you could
depends.
pay £6 to go and watch your local Step Six club, where you'll probably see a fight, you'll probably see some scrappy football, and you'll have a bit of a laugh with your pals when you're paying £2 for a beer. The equivalent is going to. So a friend of mine went to Liverpool, went for what do you call it, executives box at Liverpool. It cost him £900. They parked the cars at Aintree. Is it Aintree, the racing track close by? They did like a pre-dinner, and then you got on this coach, and this coach drove you to Anfield. You went in the executive boxes, you did your little thing. The coach picked you up and drove you back to Aintree. Now, what part of intimidation are you getting there? I love the fact when I'm going to a non-league game or a lower league game where the police are walking a group of fans from the train station to the ground because they know there's going to be trouble. That's the type of football I like. I don't want to be getting spoken to by a legend at Liverpool whilst eating a 5-star tiny little dinner that's like this tiny big on a plate that I'd expect in a London restaurant, and then having a few beers that have cost me £9 a beer at Liverpool, or having one beer at £9 a beer, and getting back on the coach and coming home. I like the idea of having a few beers at a non-league club, having a laugh, watching something go down, and having a few more beers on the way home.
Yeah, and do you think that is the sort of thing with the Prem compared to lower leagues? There's not much actual sort of rivalries in the Prem. Like I think that Merseyside derby's a load of piss now. Whereas them lower leagues, like that Wimbledon derby, that's still fierce. My mate, he's at the MK Dons doing the analysis.
Mm.
And he says like MK Dons play Wimbledon. And their rivalries like still there's placing their barricades and there was a cord off in the fan stand the other week.
MK, the Wimbledon fans will not use the words MK Dons because they don't see them as a proper club. So they will just call them the rivals or them. They do not use the words MK Dons. They just don't.
But you see that you still see the old fierceness and the red cards. It's like you watch up Merseyside derby or think that Arsenal derbies went downhill a bit. I think
So
it's all like ban the players and all this funniness, but there's no real like fight. As Roy Keane said, there's not much leaders in today's Premier League. Like
it's no Arsenal versus Man United back in the day with Vieira and Keane, is it? But you get that in lower league, like Peterborough versus Northampton Town is the local derby here, or MK Dons versus Northampton Town are the local derbies. I guarantee you, it will be tribal. Like it will be like back in the day, like two towns going to war. In the Premier League, it's just not that anymore, is it? Can you imagine Roy Keane in this type of Premier League? He'd never play a game. He'd get sent off and be banned for 10 games. It doesn't work like that. Premier League football is so unrelatable because it's so far out there now. It's just too far from being relatable. I'd rather my lad go and watch MK Dons versus the Cobblers and see a bit of a battle, a bit of a scrap, because that's what's going to happen on a Sunday league when he plays there. Why would I want him to go and... I'll tell you what, let's go to Liverpool and go to the race course and have a few sandwiches and meet a club legend and then go home and have a lovely good time. Behave yourself.
I love no executive box. Like, I don't even think, why would I want to pay, as you said, 900 quid? Like £900 to pay that executive box. Like, I would never. Unless it's the League Trouble box. That's just different.
There's no atmosphere in a box, is there? I want to be in with the fans. I want to be feeling the intimidation from the oppo. I want to be nervous that I'm probably going to get a clout if I say the wrong thing because I've sneaked in the home end because I couldn't get a ticket in the away end. Do you know what I'm saying? I like that type of thing. I've been to Premier League clubs when Leeds are in the Prem where I've sat in the home end, celebrated a Leeds goal, and nobody said a bloody word. I celebrated a goal at the Leicester game, you know, where Leeds beat Leicester at the beginning of the season at Leicester. I celebrated and I could have got myself in a bit of trouble. Do you know what I'm saying?
Us bad guys make a bit of trouble, though. Tell you what, I would never go near Cardiff. I hate them with a passion. They think they're better than us. When they were trying to get Gareth Bale, like that was a laugh. Like they were trying to say, "Oh, we're getting Gareth Bale and all this," and then I fell down the hole, and then they got on Ramsey.
Oh dear, didn't they? Yeah, it's some plays with them as well, doesn't he?
I don't know how that's going on with them. They're not doing too well. We're right behind them, but like even us with Cardiff, that's still fierce. Like we hate them with a passion. Same with yourself with the League Rivalries. Was that Prem? I can't remember a proper Premier League derby recently in like the last 2-3 years, like a proper like where you go. Geez,
the big derby used to be Liverpool versus Everton, didn't it? And that used to be, even though Everton weren't good, all bets were off on that time.
Yep.
Anyone could have won that game. Now it's...
But even with the United City, there's none of that real like edge. You want to get into their faces. Like there's none of that. Like it's still
that's the influx of foreign players for you that don't understand.
Yeah, but I think that's what it is. But like I said, there's not much. Like if you go through Premier League, like them sort of leaders, like you had a leader near each of the top 6. It's all these young ones coming through trying to dilly-dally. I think Conor Gallagher is Chelsea's captain.
What?
I think he was captaincy recently there, or 1 or 2 of the games he was captain. Conor Gallagher.
Oh my god, that's shocking! Didn't he throw a tantrum when he was at Chelsea before? When he went to Palace, he threw a big old tantrum, and that's why he went to Palace.
Well, like
because he wanted more minutes.
He's their captain. Like what? Like going into that game against Tottenham, and Tottenham's captain's probably young as well, and years ago with proper experience, he knows about that derby year in year out. Whereas lower league, it's just proper. You get it, like it phase there'll be a red, like, or there'll be sort of that edge. Where Premier League, they all hype it up the videos from 50 years ago. Just going, this video needs removed. Like they always put in that Vieira and Roy Keane video every time Arsenal play United.
Of course.
Just going, these players compared to now, there's nothing like them. You have Scott McTominay running around.
No, God, he's League 2 at best, isn't he? League 2 at best. But then look at Scotland, Rangers and Celtic has never changed. But that's due to religious reasons, isn't it? That's always going to be that scary big battle.
That's the religious and sort of that. But like you're going in the proper third division, like comparing sort of leagues, that's still the lower leagues. I would still class it as the lower league. Like I only watch
2 in the Premier League, they wouldn't do anything, would they?
But I've mates back home that would probably like say that they would. You have to look at the big picture. That they wouldn't do anything in the Prem. No. Compared like now, they'll probably be in the top probably 12, but they wouldn't be near the top 6. But they probably do.
Oh, they wouldn't be in the top half of the table.
No, but
It's laughable.
That Scotland league is like a lower league as well, so you would get that rivalry. I wouldn't class as a top league like the Prem. So like that Scotland league, I would only watch the Derby. I would watch go out on a Saturday afternoon and watch Celtic home to Hibernian.
Yeah, you ain't going to watch that, are you? You're
Or
not going to watch
or
like Ross
Rangers
Cat.
home to Dundee or stuff like that. Like I wouldn't waste my Saturday to do that. Like only we watch the Derby because I'm a big Celtic fan back home, but like I just wouldn't waste my time to watch the league as an overall. Like I watched the Derby, one Derby. That's it. But I wouldn't watch the division. Whereas like the Championship, each game you'll get it. League One you'll get it. Stuff like that. As you said before, like them money you compare them like I would rather go that non-league as you say and watch a proper 50-50 than go over to Scotland and watch. But you still have to pay the money because them stadiums, Celtic and Rangers, home to Dundee, you're still paying that big money, like 50 odd.
Yeah, I'm sure a friend when I watched Celtic versus Ross County the other day, and it cost him 50 quid for the adult, and I think it was 25 for his 10-year-old.
But what I'm not getting is right. I seen one of the stats, like I think it was this year or last year, that Celtic had like 80% possession, 18 shots to 1. Why would you waste your afternoon to watch that? Whereas them lower leagues, you're getting like 50-50, near enough 50% possession each, 10 shots each, probably like 3 each. Why would you go over there to have 80% possession and the opposition only get 1 shot?
It's just boring.
Ross County. I think you're maybe
boring.
Ross County. You offer them a friendly in pre-season.
I don't think they'd like it.
No, but like that league, I don't have any like proper fan, coach or player would say that's a sort of good league to tune in.
Yeah,
I don't think you
it's not
learn
really
much off it.
fans, is it?
Like Netherlands, you learn a bit. Good sort of young PSV or Alkmaar, Spain, you learn a bit. Italy, you learn a bit of these leagues. What do you learn of Celtic 18 shots to 1, home to Ross County or home to Dundee? You don't learn anything.
Not really, to be fair.
And that's the sort of era but that derby only sort of I was saying, but like the Prem, that big league, I can't remember a recent proper tune in. The other one, I enjoyed my Saturday afternoon, my beer. Not derby was very good. I can't remember.
Yeah, I've not gone out my way to watch any Premier League derbies for a while, to be honest.
Yeah, that's the thing, because it's all fun. That's the thing. That's the big one. So we're up there, mate. Thanks very much, and
oh, no problem.
enjoy sort of this the week.